American industrial policy right now is this total bundle of contradictions. And I want to look at that from the point of view of someone who very much does believe that America needs proactive industrial policy right now. The most obvious thing is it's all just so flippy-floppy. I mean, we have a total prohibitive tariff on Chinese electric cars. This is great. So we're going to build up electric car industry in this country, which is totally necessary because that's the direction cars are going. And if you don't, you won't have a car industry in America at all. And then we have a tax incentive to buy one, except, oh no, we don't have a tax incentive. We get rid of that. And now you have multi-billion-dollar write-offs in the car industry because of that. Now, another problem. We're trying to build up the steel industry, aluminum, copper, a bunch of other things. That's all very valid. So you have tariffs on those metals. But what happens? Well, then you have American manufacturers of goods made from those metals, anything from a knife and fork on up. They have to pay a higher price compared to foreign manufacturers who can use cheap Chinese material. Well, what happens? Well, then these downstream industries become uncompetitive. Now, the U.S. has made some adjustments to this, which is great, but this stuff came in late and we've been real inconsistent about doing it. Now, here's another issue. This is American federalism in action. We have this huge push to build, for example, all these mines around the country that are supposed to be producing rare earths that we need. And this runs into state and local permitting problems. We have this huge push for artificial intelligence, these giant data centers everywhere. And again, we start running into local permitting issues. Now, the U.S., precisely because it is a federal system, doesn't have pretty much anything in the way of national land use planning, the way you would get in a lot of countries. That doesn't mean this isn't a problem. It's hurting us. It's a competitive disadvantage. And the only answer is that states and localities have got to be more reasonable about this. And there may be a place here for federal incentives, just like here in California, there's a state level incentive for locality to allow more home construction because houses are too expensive. Now, another issue is we have all these federal subsidies for this, that, and the other, subsidies, tax credits, you name it. And then we have federal permitting queues, for example, under the National Environmental Policy Act, can take years to get through these queues and actually get things built. I guarantee you this is not a problem in China. It doesn't even seem to be a problem in some other democratic countries like Japan. We've got to do something about this. Now, we've got this idea that we're going to have green energy in this country on a source agnostic basis, which basically says we're not going to favor green energy, but we're going to give it a fair chance with anything else, and I can hash it out in terms of the cost, see who wins. And then you have these gigantic permitting retrenchments for things like offshore wind on the Northeast, Virginia, California, where stuff that was already agreed to by the federal government, they start trying to kill it using things like national security against offshore windmills. Please, you're going to pick a policy, stick to it. And please don't attack certain types of solution to an economic problem just because you got some personal animus against it. Now, another problem is we want to onshore a lot of production. For example, defense production. We want to ramp up construction of ships. And yet we don't have the capacity in this country in a lot of areas. So that forces you into a choice of either you don't build the downstream products, or for a time, you're going to have to import some of the supplies, some of these goods from abroad. Now, the obvious answer here, with example, shipping, for example, Japan and Korea are the biggest shipbuilders that know what they're doing. They build at scale, they're cost competitive, and they're allies. So if you're going to rebuild shipbuilding in this country, which has become absolutely abysmal, I mean, we're down to less than 1% of the world market, you're going to need the help of countries like that. Not just investments like the Koreans have done Hanwha Oceans in Philadelphia, but you're going to need help with technology and logistics and management know-how and a lot of stuff. So obviously the trade you make is we're going to start off buying this stuff from you, and then over time, you have to give us your technology. By the way, that's the exact same deal that these countries used to get technology out of the U.S. all during the Cold War. Things don't change. Now, another issue we got to address is the fact that the U.S. loves to do big policy announcements, big budget authorizations for this program, for that program, and then the actual appropriations, what we actually do not live up to it. So are we engaged in posturing, or is this a real program? Above all, you've got to have multi-year commitments, not only because these are often gigantic projects that take consistent support on the government side for them to even work, but in the private sector, would you make a multi-billion-dollar investment if you weren't sure the feds were going to follow through on their end? This is one of the reasons why, although we've had new steel mills in this country, we've not had significant addition to aluminum capacity, because that is so expensive, and the cost advantages, even without the tariff, are not strong enough to overcome the fact that everybody's afraid that Uncle Sam is just going to change his mind tomorrow.